Hello everyone. I finally set up with my camera, so we'll see how the quality of this one is. Why is mainstream spirituality so disconnected from what is going on in the world? How do most people start on the spiritual path? And I think, or the healing path. Our cultural conditioning affects everything we do. So a lot of the times we come into it with with maybe having traumatic backgrounds. We want to feel, or we feel disconnected from our lives and we want a better life. We want to feel good. We, want to feel better than the way that maybe different family dynamics we have or anything like that. And so why we're coming into it. And then on top of it, we have the cultural conditioning of, what is it? What was for the name? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Obviously, I don't really think about this at all, so that's why I forget the name of it or how to say it. But there's that expression, and this feeling of, with personal development, of discipline. Let's discipline ourselves into the lives we want. Let's just say no to things that we think are bad for us, or people that we think feel bad around us. And that is the main thing. And I actually just reposted this meme that was really funny. That was like, oh no, the worst person I know learns therapy words, because we can conceptualize these things and we can know that we want to feel good. But then when we're not doing the deeper work, it's just not going to actually make a deep difference, right? It's like if we have a foundation culturally of trauma, which Gabor Mate talks a lot about, and I totally agree, then our foundations culturally and personally are just not there. And so we can do the light things and the feeling good and crystals and affirmations, but it's not going to get at the foundations. And we have to go there. And so that idea of just kind of doing this surface stuff, and it's also why for me, a lot of corporate wellness stuff doesn't resonate with where they go, because obviously, first of all, they have to change the culture. And then second of all, just mindfulness practices alone, I don't believe are enough, or it's just not I just want to say, because obviously there's a big background of Buddhism and meditation. I'm not going to say that it's all bad. Obviously, mindfulness can really help us be more able to see the deeper things because we're reflecting more. But if we're just doing, this guided mindfulness app or something, we're going to still have these thought loops constantly because of the underlying trauma. And so really building the skills to do the shadow work is what's going to allow us to come back. And then when we do mindfulness, when we do things for presence, it's going to be so much easier because we're not, the foundations are more steady, because trauma lives in our body. And so it's just going to be constantly these waves of these trauma loops that are going to be really hard to overcome, by building or pulling yourself up from the bootstraps, and listening to affirmations. We have to go into the deeper stuff. And so our culture, also in mainstream spirituality, it's really easy for it to be this kind of light and love energy. We don't want to talk about, just the awful things that are happening. We don't want to talk about our government, about oppression, about social justice issues, because it doesn't feel good, right? It's that idea of, I want to do more of what makes me feel good, and I want to do less of what doesn't make me feel good. Which on one level, I understand where that sentiment comes from, and it sounds like it makes sense, but it actually doesn't work here. The reason why light and love spirituality doesn't work is because it's just this idea that light feelings and high vibration is good, and low vibration, feelings that feel uncomfortable, triggers, are bad and we should avoid them, right? Even just saying that, it sounds like we're kind of still stuck in our inner children programming, if you really think about it. It's just it's not really, it doesn't feel like this elder version of ourselves to me, because we have to excavate. All of it is in our body, right? And so, and this is also collectively, all of it is in the land, it's in our culture. All the heaviness is there. The trauma gets stored in our body, the trauma gets stored in our culture, in our collective body, and all of our bodies together in the land. And so us not focusing on it doesn't change it. It's still there. It will always still be there until we excavate. And so if you think about high vibration, which to me means someone who's more authentically them, they're really connected to their soul. They're so connected to their soul that their vibration and their energy being around them feels really good, because it feels so different. It feels so genuine. It feels like it's activating things in us. And it doesn't feel like the status quo. And how do we get there? It's not just by, we can't fake it, right? The way we get to a higher vibration, the way we become more authentic, is by clearing all of the trauma, all of the things that are making us not authentic. That's how we get it. It's literally like step 2, or the idea that it's almost like they're sisters. The dark and the light, process-wise, are sisters. You actually have to go through the darkness is step 1 to get to the light, step 2. It's not like some people treat it like a divergence in paths, a split in the fork in the road, where you can choose one or the other, and it's not that. And sometimes that might be true, right? If we have thought loops and we're spending way too much time, then we can spend more time focusing on the light things, focusing on gratitude. There's a bunch of stuff about mechanics and specificity of what that actually looks like, but just talking about these concepts of for us to truly become authentic, we have to actually heal these deep things, or else they're still going to be there. And that's why we have that feeling of there. I think a lot of us have experienced people who are really trying. You can tell that they really are trying to be authentic, and they might be like trying really hard in these different communities to make them really authentic, and something feels still a little bit off. And it's because we're trying to put this, like, what does authenticity look like versus what is actually my true authenticity that I've gotten to from doing the shadow work and excavating all of the things that aren't me so deeply that now I know who I am and I can embody that. So it's completely different. And so it's the same on the cultural level. In our culture, these collective shadows are there, and I see it because there's, these trends towards, which I'm so happy about, there's so much movement towards reconnecting with the land, reconnecting, doing herbalism, doing these really beautiful practices. And I find that what people don't realize is that we actually still have to do the excavating of our current culture, because our current cultural norms are based off of trauma. So it's the same process as with personally. So what that means is that our trauma collectively is still there. So for example, I would argue that it's collective trauma that we're in survival. So we feel like we have to, and we're in this state, even if we're middle class, there's still some level of powerlessness that a lot of us are brainwashed into, that we have to be on the go all of the time, right? And that's a trauma, it is. And maybe it's even worse because our parents were in that, and our grandparents, and all of those things. And so because of that, we have no awareness of the way that we also are inflicting trauma onto the earth. So we are mindless, or we don't have a lot of mindfulness or capacity to be mindful about the ways that we treat the earth with, on our day-to-day life. How do we treat it with our stuff, what we throw away? these things. And so that excavation of those collective traumas are going to be necessary to get to the light, in that the light is the communities that we want to build, the world we want to have. We actually have to do the excavation of the issues that we're dealing with collectively to get to the world we want. And so just realizing that that's part of the process, I think is really, really important. Yeah. And so I think that is pretty much what I want to say. I hope this was helpful. I'm really focusing on this. I keep going back and forth because with at least posting regularly, because it's been so much outside my comfort zone. So if you would like to subscribe or comment or like, I would really appreciate it. Also in the link, it should have my website, or if you want to subscribe to my newsletters, I always try to share something, some resources in my newsletters or some writings, musings. I do have upcoming classes this month. So next Tuesday, the 13th, I have it's called Divine Revolution, Culture Change 101. So it's kind of this topic where we're rethinking how do we create the intersection of healing and our communities, and how do we do that also within ourselves as we step into our purpose. How do we do that through a healing lens? And so it's all connected, right? Because our purpose could even be just the way we show up each day. So healing these things of how we relate to our culture is a big step. And so it's actually a free masterclass if you would like to come to that on August 13th. And then I think the next week I have Dreamers Council, which is all about being in this energy of dreaming what we want the world to look like. And I believe that we need a support system to not just in an abstract way, but really allowing ourselves to imagine what kinds of things we can create for our world, even personally. What kinds of things can we dream for our communities, and how can we start moving towards that? So more information of that is on my website. And then I do one-on-one healing sessions. I'm working on more sessions that are geared towards helping people specifically embody their purpose, one-on-one sessions. And then I also have a course that's coming up that's kind of related to the masterclass topic that will be starting at the end of, or pretty much the very beginning of September. So lots coming up. If anyone is interested, and thank you so much for coming. Have a good rest of the day.